In this lesson, we will learn how to build joints in Maya. Joints are essentially nodes that we can create to set points of articulation on a model. So we could use joints then to create skeletons for character animation. Super exciting stuff. So what we'll do is go ahead and use joints for the legs first, and then we'll eventually move up to the arms. So let's go ahead and get started. Where do we access the joint tool in Maya? Well, we'd simply go to the animation module, and then from there we'd go to the skeleton menu, and there it is right at the top. Let's go to our option box, and we'll reset our settings so that yours match mine. Alright, so now we can go ahead and close out of the settings. Fantastic. So now what we need to do is go ahead and choose an orthographic view to create our chain in. What I'd like to do is first look at the bend in the leg, because that's going to help us choose our preferred angle. That's essentially the angle that Maya uses to figure out how the chain should move when we add inverse kinematics. So yes, this might be a foreign term, but you'll understand what inverse kinematics do when we start to implement systems for the legs and for the arms. So let's go ahead and jump in. What we'll do is go ahead and now move over to our side view. It's best to draw your joints from an orthographic view because we know exactly where they'll end up. They're going to end up right at the origin. Whereas if we try to create them from the perspective view, well, we don't quite know where the joints will be placed. So right now this looks like it's placed on a 2D plane that faces us, but in actuality if we were to orbit around, it's actually on the floor. Not cool. I'll hit enter to set the chain, and then I'll go ahead and hit delete to remove it. Alright, fantastic. Let's go ahead and jump back to our joint tool. I'll just go ahead and press the Y key since that's our last selected tool, right? And then we can go ahead and jump to our side view. At this point, what I'd like to do is go to the shading menu, and I like to make sure X-ray joints is on. That way, if we have X-ray off, we can still figure out where our joints are by simply clicking, because you can see now they're drawn on top of our geometry. Fantastic. Right now our joint size is pretty small though, so here's what we'll do. We'll go to display, and then we'll go to animation and choose joint size. So now we can start to increase this to something that would be more ideal, something we can actually see. Alright, fantastic. So once we've decided on a size, now let's go ahead and recreate this chain. So we'll just go ahead and remove the joint chain by hitting delete. We'll also go to shading and turn on wireframe unshaded. This helps to figure out the topology of the model to know exactly where we should draw our joints. And again, if you need to, go ahead and turn on X-ray if that will help. And we'll grab our joint tool and get to work. So we'll start by creating a joint for the thigh, and then we'll create a joint for the knee. Doesn't have to be perfectly placed just yet. I'll go ahead and show you how to make sure it's placed properly. Then we'll create one for the toe area. I'll have this joint move over to the end of the toe afterwards, so we'll go ahead and lead this joint's orientation to point at the end of the toe. And now we need just one more for the back of the toe, right? So here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and press the Y key so we can repeat the last tool. We'll click away, and then we'll drag this so it's on top of that first toe joint. Fantastic. And now we'll go ahead and click again to create a joint for the end of the toe. Sweet. Now you can see how the radius of this joint here overlaps with the first toe. No worries. Let's go ahead and jump to our perspective view now. So what we can do is simply go ahead and grab that joint, shift select its end joint, go to the radius channel here that's tied to every joint we make. We can now middle click and drag to bring this down just a bit more. Let's say to about 1.5. Fantastic. Now we'll want to take this toe, shift select the shin, and press the P key to parent it. Fantastic. So when we grab the shin, as we start to rotate, take a look, we're able to now drive both toes. Wonderful. So from here, it's just a matter of placing this inside of the leg. Let's go ahead and grab the root of this chain and move it over. So take a look, we cannot see the chain. Let's do this. We'll go to shading, and we will turn on X-ray joints. Much better, right? All right, sweet. So now it's time to kind of make sure that these joints are placed the way we'd like them to be placed inside of the model. So as we start to move them, they will rotate from the right points, because if that's not the case, we'll throw off the pivot points entirely, and that would cause our geometry to separate. Not cool, right? So here's what we'll do. With this first joint selected, the very root of our chain, we'll go ahead and press Control A to jump over to our attribute editor. From there we can find our joint dropdown, and now we can use our joint orient channels to reorient this. By doing so, when we start to update these values, we can keep the actual rotate value zeroed out, which is very important for animation, because this is of course our starting point, right? Animators would use these channels, they wouldn't use these channels. Our joint orient channels are for riggers. Alright, sweet. So let's say we go ahead and do this. We'll go ahead and hold down Control, and we'll start to drag on the channel so we can start to update each channel interactively. Now we need to add a bit of a twist, right? Let's go ahead and hold down Control and adjust the X-axis to add our twist. So I'm keeping track of how the chain looks. I might go ahead and twist in the opposite direction here in the X. That looks better. Let's go ahead and go back to the Z channel and bring this over. And then it looks like we can take the root and translate it over to the side a bit more. So it's just a matter of tweaking the chain until we manage to have it fit nicely inside of the leg. So I'll go ahead and twist this again in the X-axis, again just holding down Control and dragging with the left mouse button. And then we'll do the same thing for the Z-axis. We're getting really close now. Fantastic. I'll go ahead and translate this over a bit more, and then maybe slide it over in the Z-axis a bit. And then we'll go back to our shin and kind of do the same thing. Let's go ahead and tweak. In this case, let's say the Y-axis. We'll go ahead and hold down Control, kind of bring that over to the side. And we know what axis to tweak by the way the manipulator projects towards the joint. So if we were to hold down the W key and the left mouse button, we can get to our Move Tool settings from here. Just a fast way to do that. And then we can choose Object Mode, or we could also choose Local Mode by going to Axis, Local. Another way to do this is to double click on the manipulator, and you can get to its properties from here. So let's go ahead and work with Object Mode, because it looks at the orientation of the object to determine how your manipulator should project. So it's the Y-axis that projects towards this joint in a way where we would use it to kind of swivel the joint from side to side. So we'll go ahead and bring that over to the side. That looks good. And I'd say this is a good stopping point. So let's go ahead and finish out this chain in the next lesson.